As usual, playing the silly game. It's not going to happen. The rent too damn high movement, the people I'm here to represent can't afford to pay their rent. They're being laid off right now as I speak. They can't eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Listen, someone's stomach, child's stomach just growled. Did you hear it? Gotta listen like me.
Now, this Jimmy McMillan shot is what a lot of people, or that soundbite is what a lot of people are taking away from Monday night's debate. There's a lot of criticism that there was a lack of substance. Do you think it was worthwhile?
Absolutely. I mean, the response I got, hundreds of emails, all these hits on our website, people in the audience coming up to me. I mean, for the first time, we were on equal footing with the major party candidates, and people got to compare us. Now, Jimmy McMillan's got his little rap, and, you know, people took it for what it was worth. He got on the ballot, so, you know, he spoke, and people will make their decision. I think, you know, some people are serious and some are not. We're serious, and that was good. The problem was if people didn't hear it on the radio or watch it on TV, and they got the write-up in the media, they treated it like it was a American Idol audition, and who was the most outlandishly dressed, and, you know, who said the most outlandish things. And that's unfortunate because the state faces serious problems, and some of us who are third-party upstarts have serious solutions, and we want to address those issues. I think it should be the first of several debates. I mean, we got introduced in this format. Now we need to get down to some substantive issues and confront each other on questions. Like, we talk about the stock transfer tax. The state collects $16 billion and then rebates it right back to Wall Street, and they have a $9 billion deficit. If they just keep that money, we'd have a $7 billion surplus. I want to ask Mr. Cuomo, would he keep the stock transfer tax, or why he doesn't? Why doesn't he talk about it? The candidates and the issues need more vetting than we've had so far.
Mr. Nadar, you, of course, advocate independent parties. Do you think that having everyone on the stage Monday night was worthwhile, that your party's message was able to get across that night?
Yes, I think it's extraordinary. In most states, they wouldn't do that. So it's a good presentation to the public, because a lot of public doesn't hear about the third parties. And historically, you know, they've had the great ideas that the two parties, major parties, have adopted. The anti-slavery party in 1840, the women's right to vote, the farmer, you know, worker populist party we read about in our history books. They never won an election, but they pushed the two parties. I think the Green Party's positions, many of them, are majoritarian positions if they were polled in New York State, on health care, on living wage, on a number of other things, plus keeping the sales tax on stock transactions, which is 1/20th of 1%. And how much do people pay in New York State for sales tax when they go in and they buy the necessities of life? 8%. So why should Wall Street, that has drained and looted trillions of dollars and gone for bailouts in Washington, why don't they just, you know, in their own grace, say, yeah, we don't want it rebated, 1/20th of 1%. That's 1/20th of a cent for every dollar in somebody buying a stock or a derivative. And it would eliminate the deficit and create a surplus to put back in creating jobs. That's what Howie Hawkins is campaigning all over the state for on the Green Party. And the details are howiehawkins.org. That's his website.
Now, you guys were at the state capitol today also talking about the stock transfer tax. Mr. Hawkins, was there anything Monday night, maybe including really getting into issues like this, that you wish you could have talked more about during the debate?
Well, like I said, I would have wanted Cuomo to deal with the stock transfer tax. There was a one-liner from Kristen Davis, oh, the stock market will just move out as, you know, faster than Palladino will get out of a gay bar, which was a one-liner. That's not a serious discussion of that issue. The fact is, they threatened to move in 1915 when the stock was instituted. They never left. Europe got rid of transaction taxes like this on exchanges, continental Europe, several exchanges, to try to draw business from New York and London. That didn't happen. They threatened to move to New Jersey in 2001 when they were demanding $1.2 billion in corporate welfare from the city and state of New York to build a new trading floor across the street. They didn't get it. They haven't moved. The fact is, that's where the action is. You have competing firms, but they're also complementary in that they draw upon a common pool of talent. And that talent wants to be there. They want to meet in the cafes at lunch and the bars after work to cut business deals, make career moves. It's a whole subculture. You don't want to be out in an office park in New Jersey at a computer console when the action is happening on Wall Street. They're not moving.
Wall Street won't move to Hoboken, New Jersey. That's just hook 'em.
All right. Well, I want to talk about another issue that is gaining a lot of attention right now. It's the housing crisis. You support a foreclosure moratorium, but critics say that that might actually put struggling homeowners in a more tough position once that moratorium gets lifted. Their debt may be even greater. What do you say to that argument?
Well, first we got to figure out if the banks even have title to the properties they're claiming. Mm-hmm. There's been so much fraud, it looks like, that hundreds of billions of dollars have been stolen. Mm-hmm. And then people are being thrown out of their homes. So we got to stop that. We've lost, 100,000 families in New York have already lost their homes. And there was a lot of problems with the people that lost it. Disproportionately Black and Latino, steered to subprime mortgages when they were qualified for prime mortgages. I mean, there's a whole lot of crime going on here, and nobody's going to jail. So we need to just stop and get straight who has title to what. And then for those people who have trouble, we should do what they did in the 30s without the racial discrimination they did then, and that was the Home Ownership Loan Corporation. And what that did was refinance people's mortgages, brought principals down to something they could afford, and extended, back then it was going from 10-year to 30-year mortgages. In this case, it would be going from all these subprime and strange mortgages to a fixed-term, long-term mortgage that people could afford. And the people that have title to the mortgages or own the mortgages are going to have to take a loss as well, but they'll get something back. So, because the debts have got to be reduced at some point. We had an $8 trillion housing bubble, something Andrew Cuomo, when he was in HUD, he missed it, and now he missed the crime, and now he's letting the crooks get away with it. He's the Attorney General, and he hasn't been on top of this.
Mr. Nadar, I wanted to switch gears just a little bit. There's a lot going on with the Tea Party this year, this push for less government. Do you think that the Green Party's message resonates with voters during this election cycle?
Yes, you get down to specifics. For example, consumer fraud and ripoffs. Who doesn't resonate with that? Okay, cutting the bloated, wasteful military budget that the news reports have been focusing on, the contracting scandals. Who doesn't resonate with that? Living wage. Take a Tea Party worker in Walmart who's making $8 an hour and say, you think you deserve $10 an hour, which is what the minimum wage was in 1968, adjusted for inflation? You think that Tea Party is going to, no, I have an ideology. I want to work for a level I can't even support myself, much less my family, while the head of Walmart is making $11,000 an hour, $11,000 an hour. So my idea is get people down concretely to where they live and work and raise their families and discuss those issues like health care, for example, and you'll get a greater unanimity of support from people now who sort of divide themselves with labels.
Now, the Green Party did a study that showed that most Americans would like to have a third party. Are you afraid that that third party may be the Tea Party rather than the Green Party? No.
Well, of course, if the Tea Party forms the third party, it'll be the end of the Republican Party, because they'll damage the Republican Party vis-a-vis the Democratic Party. That's why I don't think they're going to do it. Because it's basically the Tea Parties are the conservative wing of the Republican Party that don't like Bush, don't like Cheney, don't like Obama, and don't like Biden. They don't like any of them. So it's like throw the rascals out. And the rascals happen to be now incumbent Democrats. But watch out, Republicans.
Well, what do you think about that movement?
Well, it was a Gallup poll, not our own poll, that said 58% of Americans want a major third party. And you break that down, and on the issues, I think Ralph is right. You get concrete, and people are with the Greens and what we call the Green New Deal. They want jobs, health care, fully funded schools, and a clean energy transition, which will both stimulate the economy and help us avert catastrophic climate change. I think those have majoritarian positions. And also when you get beyond the labels, for example, we've advocated public power in Syracuse. We have this coalition that came out of my mayoral campaign in '05. And the practical solution, it's a so-called socialist idea, public ownership, but we have members of the Conservative Party, Republicans, Democrats, and Greens. That's a solution that up in the 23rd District of New York, where the Tea Party candidate ran a Republican right off the ballot in that special election, there's a consortium of 22 or 23 towns called the Alliance for Municipal Power, which are forming the North Country Power Authority. It's passed the state Senate. It's a conservative district, but as a practical solution, they're finding out public ownership of the utility, a natural monopoly, makes more sense.
There are hundreds of towns with public power, from Jacksonville, Florida, to Sacramento, California, and of course the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Right.
That was all public.
So, you know, we need to be practical, not dogmatic. And I think too often people take an ideology and then they apply it to everything. And now we got this ideology of tax cut. The tax cut's the solution for everything. Bush came in and said, we got a surplus, let's give the people their money back. And then we got deficits, and he said, we need tax cuts to stimulate the economy and get a surplus back.
This is Bush 1.
Yeah, Bush 1.
Yeah.
And now we've got Palladino saying tax cuts and Cuomo saying tax cuts. I can do Tea Party better than he can because I can do it without offending people, as he told Fred Dicker in that column last month. And, you know, David Koch, the financial godfather of the Tea Party nationally, has given $50,000 to Andrew Cuomo. I mean, a tax cut as a solution to everything is not a serious proposal. It's a bumper sticker. Well, that's why we need more debates, and we need to get down to what will work and present people with realistic solutions. Especially
since, you know, New York State is one of the most unequal states in terms of taxes. This is a lower income, middle income pay a higher percentage than a lot of the super rich do.
Well, let me ask you something. You've run for president 4 times already. Is there any part of you that wants to run again in the future?
I wish someone else would do it. I think voters need the progressive agenda, which has so many majoritarian support, on the ballot. If someone else wants to do it, I'd love them to do it. But a lot of people don't want to go through the grind state by state, the ballot access obstacles, the Democrats suing you, harassing your petitioners. But we need more voices and choices for the voters.
Well, what about New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg? There was a Marist poll out today that said the majority of New York City residents don't want to see him run for president, but would you support him in a run for president?
Well, it's funny you say that, because my conversations with him and his conversations with other people lead me to believe it's 50-50. He's going to run in 2012, and it'll probably be on an independent ticket. And if that happens, he writes himself a $600 million check. He doesn't have to dial for dollars, and it's a 3-way race at the presidential level. I think if he thinks he's got a chance to win, he'll really run. His problem is that he thinks too many voters are hereditary Republican, hereditary Democrat. No matter who the nominee is, they'll go the party line. And that sort of handicaps an independent candidate.
Would you support him?
Well, I would support him in the manner of more diversity of choice. Just like I would want a libertarian candidate, I'd want a green candidate. I really believe in competitive democracy.
So would you run on the Green Party line if there was no one that you saw fit to carry your party's name?
Well, I'd be very reluctant. I mean, when you've done it 3 times officially, 1 time unofficially, starting in 1996, and you've documented the 2-party dictatorships, the ballot access obstructions, the harassment, and you've won some lawsuits and you're pushing for reform, I say someone else should do it in 2012.
So you're not writing it off, though?
Not writing it off totally, but you cannot believe what it's like. There's no country in the Western world that obstructs candidates from simply getting on the ballot. Far, far worse than 100 years ago in the U.S.
Interesting. All right. Before we close up or end this conversation here, Mr. Hawkins, I just want to give you one last chance to talk to viewers and tell them why they should vote for you.
If you don't vote for what you want, you're never going to get it. If you vote for Cuomo because you're afraid of Palladino and you're a progressive, well, in this case, I mean, Palladino, he's talked himself right out of the race. So the question is, what are you going to do with your vote? Are you going to send a message, or are you going to be taken for granted? Because if you're a progressive and you give your vote to Cuomo, he's going to take it as affirmation of his very conservative economic agenda, and he's going to figure, I got you in my hip pocket, I don't have to pay attention to you, because you're not going to vote for the Republican. What you can do is vote for the Green and get him to pay attention to our issues. And for the Green Party, we get 50,000 votes, we get a ballot line. That means we can run Greens all over the state much more readily. We get to 200,000, we'll probably be the 3rd on the ballot, and getting in the position where we will be that 3rd major party that the Gallup poll said people want. And I think our Green New Deal is in the mainstream of New York's progressive political traditions, and it appeals to people. So I appeal to the progressives and the independents that support that program. Vote for it. Don't vote for less than what you want.